All right, we're live. It's episode 162. And Richard's here. We're doing the Gecko explosion tonight. And we also have tornadoes in the building. So very cool. We love that. Let's do our sponsor shout outs. VetDNA.com for all of your testing needs. Need to test a gecko for something? VetDNA.com. Thank you. VetDNA.com. Shane Kelley, Small Town Xotics. He's going to be at the Charlotte AARPE on September 21st and 22nd, slinging ball pythons, hognose, fun facts at Charlotte. Charlotte's going to be popping, I think, also. I am committed to it being popping. And if you want to join a fun Patreon, Small Town Xotics Patreon, it's pretty fun. Little Discord, little podcast thing behind the scenes. I did an episode last week. It just released. Very cool. Shane Kelley, Small Town Xotics. Bravo Zulu Ball Python. She will be at the Colubrid Fest in Indianapolis. I forget when it is. I already forgot. September. Do you remember?
Last weekend in September, I believe.
That's very soon. It's crazy how fast it's coming up.
It's like 2 weeks before Tinley, right?
There's so much stuff going to be happening this fall. It's going to be a good time to be a ball python aficionado. Bravo Zulu Ball Pythons. Check her out. Stoneage Ball Pythons, Justin Brill. He was on the last Member Live talking about some Pacific Northwest shows. So if you want to hear about that and you're not a member, you're missing out. We also talked about Pokemon for maybe strictly too much time, but that's okay. Thank you, Justin. Stoneage Ball Pythons. Powerhouse Pythons, Andrew, he is going to be at Spokane on September 8th. Also coming up soon. Gosh, everything is just coming down the pipes. He has ball pythons, leopard geckos, rodents, gopher cocoa, and other fun species that he's working on. Please check out Powerhouse Pythons. Thank you. Gray Family Snakes, they just got back from Daytona, but they're getting ready for Charlotte AARPE as well. Please check out both of our sponsors at Charlotte and give them a firm platonic handshake only, please. Thank you. They do high-end ball pythons. And Chris at BNS Reptilia, he had a little litter of baby boas born while he was in Daytona. I'm sure they were extra sticky when he was done, but he cleaned them off. They're ready to go. Tarahumaras, Costa Ricans, a little bit of ball pythons, some bull snakes, everything else. He'll be, I don't know what his show schedule is, but he'll be at Tinley. So that's all that really matters, I guess. Thank you, Chris at BNS Reptilia. We did it. I did it. Who's in the chat? Emma's here. Laura. Northwest. Oh, Spokane is September 28th. What did I say? Oh, 8th. That's wrong. That's wrong. Thank you. I'll fix that. Okay.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris at BNS. I had some questions about some things and he got me squared away. So
all right.
Good with that.
He's a real team player. So we will get into Pictus geckos and gecko stuff, but we were talking about Dallas and I was like, let's just do it. What was your question about Dallas?
First time I'll be down there vending. I'm vending with MKS Reptiles. We are, based on the map, we are back left. We're like 2 tables away from you.
On the same pod?
Yeah, same pod.
Okay, cool.
I think do you have like an end cap or a corner?
Yeah, I have a corner.
Yep, so you're on the corner, then there's a Game is Geckos, and then it's us. So
are you're sharing one table with them, or you each have a table and they have 2?
We've got 2 tables.
Okay.
So yeah, we have 2 tables. I'll have Pictus geckos, I'll have Crested geckos, he'll have mostly leechies and cresteds, but lots of leechies. So
that's cool. Did you want, I mean, it's a long drive where you're like, this is going to be my Hail Mary, make lots of money, big show that I'm going to drive to? Because you still, are you waiting on the vendor list for Tinley? Is that what this is sort of?
Yes. So I am going to turn in basically the paperwork to get on the wait list for Tinley. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to team up with my friends Stacy and Dan at Roots, Scoots, and Scales. And between the two of us, we can list probably 45, maybe even 50 species, covering everything from frogs to lizards to skinks to snakes and geckos and everything else in between, and plants. So, and weird stuff. You know, reticulated water skinks and, you know, weird skink stuff and a lot of basic bitch stuff. So, but we're gonna, I've been on here before and we've talked about, I've still got, what have I done? 20 shows already this year. And I've got, including now Dallas, I think I've got 8 or 10 more in the pipe. And I've decided shows up here in Minnesota, shows in Minnesota, Wisconsin suck in June, July, and August.
That's not what Adam thinks. Did you hear Adam's show?
No, I watched that. Let's see. It's, well, he's new. He's been here a year. But we've talked privately about what he's planning on for next year. And you know, we're not gonna talk about that, but I'm not going to travel out of the state of Minnesota for the same type of show that I've been here in Minnesota. I'm not going to travel to Wisconsin in June, July, and August next year because it's just not worth it. But what I am going to do, starting with Dallas this fall, then doing Dallas next year, plus I'm probably 90% likely I'm going to do Schaumburg. If I'm traveling in June, July, and August, it's going to be something bigger. And plus doing Dallas, and I may throw my hat in the ring and do the All-American Reptile and Plant Expo. They're coming to Kansas City. They're doing one in December, and I think they got one in May next year. I may do St. Louis NARBC.
Are you going to get your own? Like, you're going to register as yourself for Dallas or whatever?
Well, yeah, and then for next year for Dallas, I'm going to register as myself. And my friend Keith and his son Mike, they're at MKS. They used to do Arlington way back in the day, and they kind of quit doing it, but he wanted to do it again, and I'm like, fuck it, let's go. You know, we're gonna ride down together. We're gonna split expenses. You know, I'm basically paying for hotels because we're going to arrive Friday evening or Thursday evening. So I'm basically paying for hotels for us for the weekend, and then he's got the tables covered, and, you know, sell some geckos and pay for the beer. So that's
did you
kind
get
of the plan.
A room at the Holiday Inn, or did you?
Yes, I'm at the
Okay.
I'm at the Holiday Inn. We're at the Holiday Inn because I'm part of the IHG whatever.
Yeah.
Their rewards thing, and with basically paying now 6 total nights is going to bump me up a level on their tier of perks, which is good. So, and the rooms was $105 a night or whatever.
Yeah, very reasonable.
Yeah, compared to, you know, fuck the Tinley hotel, the Reptile rate, it's ridiculous. Plus they charge a resort fee.
Right.
But no, so next year I'm gonna do the local cold-blooded shows, which are 4, possibly 5 times a year. There's 5 of them this year, just it's a weird year, but next year it's probably only gonna be 4. I'm gonna do those. I'm gonna do Emily at Snake Discovery does a couple shows within 45 minutes of where I live, and then she does another show, 2 shows that are like an hour and 15 away, still in Minnesota. So I'll do those 4 shows. She does a show in Eau Claire, Wisconsin that I'll do because I do all of her shows and typically do very well. And that was the last show that I vended, and did all right. But I'm going to do, if I'm traveling in the summer, I'm going to do a bigger show. That's what it's come down to. And I've heard there's lots of rumors about potentially other shows coming into my market. So potentially 2025 into 2026, there could be the 4 or 5 cold-blooded shows, the Emily shows, and potentially 2 or 3 different other promoters bringing shows here. So there could be a show in this market every 8 weeks, you know.
Is that good?
And I don't know. We'll see.
Have you ever
We'll
thought
see.
of doing the whole cold-blooded circuit?
I have kicked around the idea of going down to Des Moines.
Mhm.
I might do that next year, do the early, basically early in the year and late in the year shows down there.
Mhm.
I know Adam's traveling to Kansas City. You know, I don't know. Jason and Kelley that do the cold-blooded shows, they're great people. So, I don't know. Well,
Yeah, those are hard because I know they're one-day shows, and everyone's like, if you live nearby, a one-day show can be like very convenient and cost-effective. But then, like, if it's 5 hours away, 6 hours away, you're not going to one day that one. You at least have to get a hotel Friday night and then drive back real fast. Or if it's Sunday, Saturday night.
And that's the thing. Up here, the shows are on Sundays because the places they rent are cheaper on Sunday versus Saturday because they're usually at hotels and those rooms are reserved for weddings and they're much more expensive on a Saturday night than a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, the last show that I did that I traveled, it was to Madison, Wisconsin, and it's 4.5 hours, and I did it there and back in the same day.
Would you do that again?
No, I thought I was going to fall asleep the last hour and a half on my way home that Sunday evening. Because I mean, it's a 9 hours round trip plus 9 hours or 7.5 hours at the show. I was exhausted.
Yeah.
But when I've done that show in the past, I've gotten a hotel room, but I'm like, I'm not going to get the hotel room. I'm going to turn and burn it, and I'm not doing that again.
Yeah, it could be whatever the $90 you saved in the hotel isn't worth
right
car.
Right, and it's going to be from my house to basically the hotel, the convention center in Dallas. It's 15 hours. So
did you want to split it up on 2 days, or are you just doing a straight shot on Thursday?
Well, we originally were going to leave at like midnight on Thursday, so we'd be there at, we were going to leave. My friend Keith and Mike, they live about 2 hours south of me, so I was going to be at their house at midnight, and that would put us, we'd be in Dallas at 1 o'clock on Friday, based on driving the speed limit, which we're probably not going to do. But
I know, but then it's not worth it. Then you're dying.
Right, and yeah, but you basically get set up and you're just dying for VIP to end, and you go crash, and you're wiped.
Right, and people buy shit at that VIP. I'm just telling you.
Right, so you got to be on your game.
Yeah.
So they both work at the same place, and the place is shutting down next week. So he texted me a couple weeks ago. He goes, "We're shut down that entire week. We can leave on Thursday morning if you want." I'm like, "All right, let's go." So we're gonna leave. We're planning on leaving his house. I'm gonna be at his house at like 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'll have to stop at least twice for fuel, food, whatever, and just it'll be probably a 17-hour trip. But we're gonna bang it out all in one day. And then that way we can get to the hotel. We'll crash. We'll be well rested. Get up and sleep late on Friday, get up, do breakfast, and then go over and get set up. So, but then when the show closes on Sunday, we're packing up and heading home right away. So
do you think there are, I know you haven't vented it yet, but I've never heard crested gecko people be like, I'm going to Arlington to get my favorite vendor's geckos, when it was there. Do you think we can make Dallas a destination gecko show? I think it kind of was, but I've just never heard of it that way.
It can be. You look at the vendor list. There's some there's some top tier people there. That the person that's basically in between us, she's got some amazing shit.
Noah's on the other.
Yeah, and Noah's right behind us, and he's got great stuff too. So, it could be. And in the past, Keith has said that when he vended Arlington, they did really well selling Leachianus and even crested geckos. So, and there's some heavy hitters in the gecko community that are in that area that don't vend, but they show up and shop.
Okay.
So we'll see what happens.
Hopefully it's good. Is there I know you don't want to say it, You don't have to say it, but is there like a goal monetary amount? And if you don't hit it, you're just like, ugh, not coming back. Maybe. Do you have that in your head yet, or are you trying to not set expectations because don't want to get disappointed?
Well, there's expectations. I'd like to cover costs, but
that's pretty cool. We love that.
Right. I mean, and that's a pretty low floor. I mean,
yeah.
Just covering costs and covering the bar tab for the weekend would be a +2. And, I'm doing it just, it's like, what the hell? I've done worse things, I mean, and it's like I'm not going to miss a Tinley. And I've always said, I don't want to turn Tinley into a working weekend, but if I can get a table or, a pipe dream getting 2 tables and vend with friends of mine, and that becomes a thing twice a year. We're in the same place for the entire weekend. It just, and I'm going anyway. I might as well set up shop and try and sell something while I'm there. I mean, usually like in March Tinley, I didn't have any geckos with me, but I talked to people there, and I probably did $3,000 in sales that weekend without having anything there, just arranging deals. And sometimes, like, I don't know, we'll see. I haven't got anything pre-sold for October, but usually I do because people know I'm going to be there. So it's like, if I can get a table there and turn it into a business weekend, why not? I'm going to be there anyway,
Right, but Dallas, you wouldn't just be there anyway.
No, I'm not.
Like
right. I'm going because I might as well, and I'm gonna have, it's a $1,500 weekend for me, but we're splitting things, so I wouldn't do it alone. I mean, I'm not making that drive alone. I mean, that'd be I'd ship my geckos and fly in if I was actually gonna get serious about vending it. But I'm doing it with a couple guys that we're gonna have a blast driving and talking, and it'll be a fun weekend, and we'll see what happens. But
I'm hopeful. So
I'm hopeful too. I mean, it's it's gonna suck if I don't sell a single thing, but
I don't want to curse it. But I am hopeful. Let's just put it that way.
All right. But it's, we might as well. And then, like, next year, not for the early show, but definitely for the September show next year, like, if everything goes to plan, I should have snakes and I should have zebra skinks, and I might be able to bring 10 species by myself to Dallas next fall. So if everything goes the way it should, and, we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
and
it's one of those things where I think if you could lock in the tables in your name now, that would be good, because it may fill up technically between now and next fall. Like if this one's really good or something, people.
Well, yeah,
I'm
basically on Friday when we get there, I'm gonna grab the form and fill it out and give it to either Brian or Bob, and say I want a table by myself for the spring and the fall next year. And Keith is going to do the same, and then I'm going to say, hey, put us next to each other.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is wild there. Like if you look at the map, there's a bunch of people that just have pods, but they like don't give away a table or two. They sell,
right,
they sublet, but they're still there. And I'm like, maybe that's like the right strategy is to just buy pods and then like force the issue so that you're a lord of a tiny fiefdom.
Well, I like your idea about, you were talking with, the Herp and Harbins about being in the same pod together. So you got more eyes on tables. You know what I mean?
Protection and numbers.
Is it you and the kids and the kid and the husband going to be there in Dallas, or is it just you?
Yeah, it's still like up in the air. He's such a wiener schnitzel about it because he wasn't there last Dallas.
Oh,
which is fine. And I was like, I feel like this could be a busier Dallas. And then I'm like,
right.
I feel like I'm going to need you there to just like be the checkout girl, you know?
Right.
I'll talk to people, you check them out. You take the maybe
Right.
or maybe not. Maybe I'll just hire Jen. She always comes up. Here's $50.
Oh,
Be
right.
my checkout girl.
Right.
You know, I don't know. It's the reason why it's up there is because we have a dog. So sometimes we have a dog sitter, sometimes we don't. Sometimes if we don't have a dog sitter, and that Holiday Inn does allow dogs, so technically he could come down, bring the dog, and like hang out with the dog, and it kind of help. But then then you're carrying a dog around the whole countryside. What's up, Chris?
Right.
Angel, there you go. She's in. So I don't know. That's why it's confusing. But then I'm like, if I had a pod with people that I knew and we were all sort of near each other, then I wouldn't necessarily need to force Chris to, to come down.
Right.
You know, it'd be easier. Yeah, I think it's gonna be fire. It's crazy how fast it came up. It feels like it's barreling down.
Yeah, it's, you know, you look at it, a week from now we'll probably just be rolling into town. So at least, you know, Keith and Mike and I. So I'm looking
crazy.
forward to it. I'm excited about it, and you know, if we can sell some geckos and kind of put a war chest together for Tinley, and so I can make dumb decisions buying stuff at Tinley.
What kind
You
of
know,
geckos is Richard trying to buy these days? Like what? More Dow stuff or more rare species stuff?
the shopping list for Tinley is going to be, I mean, I've got a list, you know, 15 species deep, but prioritizing, I've got some, just like, I've got a male and a female of some species that I need to get to round out a project, or, you know, instead of having a 1-3 to give me a, you know, a 2-3 or a 2-4. But I'm going to be looking for, I've got a group of Australian barking geckos, hypos, all visuals. I want to buy like a 1-2 of just normals, or even a reverse, a 2-1 to have 2 males.
Can I?
So I can
I
make.
like the wild type better. Does that make me a bad person?
Well, no, the wild type is nice too, but I've
Yeah, I
got
like the
some.
hypo too, but the wild type is like punchier because it's not hypo. There's something about
Right.
it in that one, like the little
And even
speckles.
I've got I've got my hypos came from 2 different people, and the most recent acquisitions, they're a lot nicer hypos than what I got from the other person. So there's some, you know, variability in what the hypos look like. But yeah, the normals are great too. I mean, it's the barking gecko is a super underrated gecko. But I'm also looking for. I had a 1-1 of Condrodactylus angullifer, the giant Namibian, you know, ground gecko, and I lost the male to a prolapse hemipene earlier this year. So I want to grab, and I know like Phil Tremper, and you know, there'll be plenty at Tinley, especially on Friday when we're running around during VIP. I'm gonna grab a couple males, and if I can find, you know, 2 or 3 or 4 females, I'm gonna buy everything I can find and dedicate, you know, an entire V70 rack to Angullifer in that project, because I really want to produce those things. They're amazing animals. I'm still sad about losing that male. He was I could finger feed him crickets. You know, they stand up on their little spindly legs, and like, you know, they're challenging you. They're not a timid gecko at all.
That's
They have
good.
a lot of personality. I'll be looking for unrelated zebra skinks to my group that I've got now. Probably fill in some project with some of the other Nephura, some of the other knobtails. You know, like I need another Asper, and I need an Amy Eye, and you know, things like that. And probably buy more Yunnan mountain rats, more broad-banded rats. I don't know.
That's
We'll
a
see.
lot.
Oh yeah, I've got a list, and it's whether I've got the cash to do it and what I'm going to prioritize. So
All right.
the list is long.
What about crested gecko wise? Is there like, you know?
They're I've got too many of the damn things.
Okay.
I have hatched. Oh, I haven't checked the incubator yet today, so this number is going to change after I check it after the show. But what am I at? 536 or 537 for hatched crested geckos this year.
You still
And
possess all of them? Have you sold?
I have,
much of them?
except for about 25 or 30 that hatched like in February, March, and April.
Mm-hmm.
I've got everything other than probably 30 geckos I've still got in my possession. Because and it's crazy to say, but most of what I produce this year, I want to hang on to and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm working empty back, super, the empty back project, the soft scale project, combining it, trying to make super empty back, super soft scale lily whites. I've got a lot of stuff going that I'm getting better at picking out. The super empty back is obvious what it looks like coming out of the egg,
Mm-hmm.
but the difference between soft scale, super soft scale out of the egg, I hang on to them, and I'm getting better at picking them out.
So you didn't want to buy a sable off of fetal?
No, I thought about buying a sable, but it's just like, yeah, I don't know if I am going to eventually get into the sables, because Candace from Candied Crusties, she was the first one to produce the lily white sable in North America.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's on 3rd generation producing sables. She's just, an hour and a half away from me. So if I buy a sable, I'm going to buy it from her. And she bought it. Her sables came from Gecko Haven, which is the original line. So there's some debate whether sables from anywhere else other than Gecko Haven are actually sables, but
the inventory you were selling this year, was that last year's babies that you decided weren't up to stuff and had grown out enough, or were they?
Yes, and actually, for a number of reasons, the move and a bunch of other reasons, I didn't hardly produce any crested geckos last year, and I went full bore into, I had all these shows scheduled and prepaid. I ended up buying a bunch of stuff wholesale from Anthony Caponetto at ACR, babies and juveniles and adults, and that's what drove my sales and my shows for the first 5-6 months this year. And I bought hundreds of geckos from him, and I've got about 35 or 40 that I held back, and I'm keeping for myself because it's empty back soft scale stuff that I'm going to work into my projects. And everything else that I bought from him, I've sold. So the last show I did, everything I had on the table is something I produced. So, and it's.
But you think you're going to do less shows this coming year total?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It'll be less shows.
Okay.
But the bigger shows, other than the ones here in the local market. So
do you think it's because, I mean, you can be as honest as you want. Do you think it's because they have enough crested geckos where, like, if you come into the market 3 times a year, that's enough? Or do you think it's why?
In this market, there is, at the Cold-Blooded show specifically, there is one vendor. I don't even know their name. They don't have a banner. They usually don't even have a tablecloth. They show up to like the middle show, like the August Cold-Blooded show, with a table full of adult and juvenile crested geckos, dirt cheap, and they sell pretty much everything on their table in the first 3 or 4 hours because they're so cheap, and then they leave. And nobody else in the room with crested geckos sells anything. And that sucks. But that happened this year, and that was the one show where I did not sell a single crested gecko.
You did cork though, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did almost $1,500 in cork bark and Pangea food. So, I made money that day. I didn't sell any animals, but I made money selling all the other stuff. So, and bottom line, and the customers that were there that were buying Pangea, they're ones that have bought geckos from me in the past. So that's why I'm there. I mean, to sell them their Pangea.
Are you worried about people not having access to Pangea because you don't do those shows for them? I'm sure there's other Pangea vendors there, but then they
Right.
would be buying from you.
The ones in Wisconsin, no. And for me, kind of a good development at my last show, the last Cold-Blooded show, is I talked to a bunch of people that they've bought 4, 5, 6 geckos from me, and they've got 20 to 30 geckos now in their possession, and they're growing stuff up. They might breed next year. But I talked to a lot of those people, and they're like, because I had 4-pound bags of Pangea on my table, which I never bring because I've never sold one because it's $100 a bag.
Mm-hmm.
And I brought 4 bags and I sold all 4 bags. And the one person that bought 2 bags said, do you have this and this, somewhere under the table? I said, no, but I wish it. And they're like, we would buy it if you had it. So after, a couple of days after the show, I met them and sold them. And they're now next year, I said, beginning of January, I'm going to place a giant wholesale order with Pangea. And if you want to buy all your food in one shot in January from me, tell me what you want and I'll order it.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I've got at least 5 or 6 people that are going to do that. And that's going to be, it could be $5,000 retail and Pangea sales to those people. So
what's the margin from Pangea?
The worst margin is on the big bags. It's about, 30% on the 4-pound bags.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
It could be best, right? The best margin is on the 8-ounce bags, and that's like 47 or 48%. If you're selling at MAP, because they have their MAP prices.
Mm-hmm.
But let's get controversial since we're talking about Pangea.
Okay.
Unless you're in the Crested Gecko community, you probably are completely unaware. But
about Lugardi?
No, just about what's happening with Pangea and specifically the Crested Gecko diet.
Okay.
So I don't know, we're 18 months ago or whatever it's been since they redesigned their bags, the graphics, and they now have a QR code on it so you can verify authenticity. And prior to this, there was the supply chain issues during COVID. And this is my opinion. It's allegedly, I have no factual basis for this, but my opinion is during COVID, there was counterfeit Pangea floating around.
Okay.
And there was people selling it on Amazon, which you're not supposed to do, that were not storing it properly. So plus, I think there was counterfeit stuff out there. But the resellers on Amazon, they weren't storing it properly and it was getting too hot, and that screws with the diet. And there's a couple groups on Facebook, and they've been going on and on about the issues they've had with Pangea and blaming the food for poorly calcified eggs, males not holding weight, females suddenly dying, all these issues. But I've had 0 issues, and it's on a really large sample size of animals, thousands of animals. And the recurring theme with these people that have had issues, they're feeding usually only 2 flavors of the Pangea diet, and they feed none of the other commercially available Crested Gecko diets. And they're typically feeding the gray bag, which is the growth and breeding, and they're feeding the purplish bag, which is the fig and insect. And Pangea has updated their use guidelines to telling you don't feed only those two foods. Don't even feed the growth and breeding regularly. And also don't feed the fig and insect regularly. And all the people that have had issues are feeding those 2 flavors and nothing else along with insects. And there's people that have only fed the 1 flavor and they've had a ton of issues, and they're not feeding any of the other commercially available diets. I feed Pangea. I feed Rapashi. Keith is a Lugardi dealer, so I get Lugardi from him. I feed the BPZ, the Black Panther Zoological Diet. I used to feed the Zoomed diet because they changed it, and it's a really good diet now, but I quit using it because they don't sell it in big enough bags to make it worth the cost compared to Pangea and otherwise. But the as with anything, I don't care if it's a snake, a gecko, a frog, or whatever. Variety is key.
Emma asked, why did they change the guidelines?
Because of a lot of the feedback they were getting. Okay. And I guess I really haven't gotten into it. I've read there's a bunch of drama surrounding it, and there's an actual food scientist, I'm not going to name him, but there's an actual food scientist in the crested gecko community that actually has his own food. Well, he has the base. You have to buy a bunch of other ingredients to make the food, and I feed that food as well. But they've changed ingredients. They've changed things on the label, and they've changed the guidelines how to feed it because, frankly, most people were doing it wrong. It's a lot of user error. It's not feeding the variety, feeding one flavor, feeding too much, all these issues. And I've had zero issues. And it's not just because I'm a dealer for Pangea. I trust the food. I've had no issues. I feed all the foods. People ask me,
do you know the name of the diet? Ask
Aerotonic. ARRITONIC.
Can I ask you a extremely controversial question?
Shoot, go for it.
What if all crested gecko people are wrong? Crested geckos should eat primarily insects and have supplemental fruit.
They should also be eating birds. They should also be eating birds.
Right. They should be like treated like a gecko that sometimes eats fruit instead of a gecko that eats mostly fruit slurry covered in bugs and occasionally gets reluctantly, if it's a breeder, offered insects. You know what I mean?
Right.
Switch the paradigm here.
Right. So, most people are keeping them too cool. I mean, that's been a hot button issue lately.
Lisa asked about crypto. Were they just like guessing that they were sick because of whatever, but maybe they had
none of the deaths. I think there's only one person that actually did a necropsy and it was inconclusive. It's all speculation, and the easiest thing to do is blame the diet. Because a person's husbandry is never wrong and things like that. You're doing everything perfectly.
Oh, can I talk about keeping something very specific?
What's that?
I fucked up. Everyone was like, yeah, keep cave geckos room temperature. Wrong. I was like, why aren't my babies really growing? They're growing a little bit.
Don't they need like an 80-degree hotspot or warm spot?
I think those. So like, I was watching a little Clint's video with the guy from the Great Basin Serpentarium, and he gives his an 85-degree hotspot. And I was like, it's hot as shit in Japan. I moved them to the snake building. The ambient could be 88, 90, 82, 78. They're fine. They're all growing now and eating a bunch, and they're pretty happy. I don't know if I'd go hotter than that, but like
I totally just ignore your experience because it's anecdotal and it's only one person.
Right, I was keeping them in the office, and like it'd get a little hot in here, like in the day. The doors closed, and there was other racks. They'd be on the racks, so they'd be like room temperature, and they were fine, but they weren't really like eating a ton. They would leave dubia in their little cup. Now they're like feral, and they're actually growing. So I fucked up. So cave geckos are not magically cold.
Right, just because they live in they're not always in a cave.
No, most of them don't live in a cave most of the time. They're just like a fossorial little thing that lives in pretty warm parts of certain islands. But like, it's just weird that they're like, if they get over whatever, they die. And I was like,
that's not true.
Mine aren't really growing. So they must need some heat.
Yes, Lisa, crested geckos do get crypto. Hop in the Wayback Machine on YouTube and go find the podcast that I did with Jessica. God, was that 2 years ago now?
Yeah, probably
3 years ago.
I don't know.
I went through it. I talked all about it. We covered a lot of ground with that. Yeah, even crested geckos. Oh, keep them room temp. Nope, that's too cold. There's another podcast, the Reptiles with podcast. The one guy, he's keeping crested geckos outside in Florida, and it gets, in the 90s, hitting 100. As long as they got a microclimate that's humid and shaded, they're fine. My breeder room, ambient temp at its peak in the afternoon is flirting with 80, 82.
What about 85? What I'm saying is crested geckos, they would get obese if they have too many bugs.
Right.
But what if they were warm and they got bugs, less gecko food?
Right. And bigger enclosures.
Like in the wild. Like in the wild. Let's be realistic.
Bigger enclosures, more enrichment, more exercise. Well, yeah. But no, you look at I feed babies especially, baby crested geckos, I feed them, they get Pangea. Well, they get crested gecko diet twice a week, and they're getting crickets predominantly 2 or 3 times a week. And you can power feed a crested gecko, and that's why I don't know the answer to this. Okay. There's people talk about, I've seen people post on Instagram and other places, they call it the 20 by 1, 40 by 2 rule. So 20 grams by a year, 40 grams by 2. And if you're not hitting those benchmarks, you're doing it wrong. Well, I think that's a crock of shit. I know I've never done it, but I know people that have taken a gecko in a year and gotten it to 45 or 50 grams. Mm-hmm. But the problem with a gecko like that, especially a female, she's never going to breed. She's never going to lay. She's never going to be productive because her body grew faster than her reproductive organs developed. Mm-hmm. And geckos that are power fed and speed the growth up like that, they're not going to produce. And we're talking about living animals. They all grow at different rates. I mean, I've got geckos that were hatched in April that are in that, low teens mm-hmm. range for weight. And I've literally animals that are siblings that hatched a month earlier or a month later that are half the size, that have been fed the same diet, the same regimen, whatever. Things grow at different sizes.
Is there a crested gecko diet conspiracy though? Like that they want you to offer a lot of crested gecko diet so you waste a lot, feed a lot.
Oh, I think people
really
overfeed.
They don't need that much because they don't need that much food, and we kind of overfeed them. And if you did like 1 day a week of diet and 2 days a week of crickets, that would be fun.
I'm pretty sure it's still on his website. Brian Butler at Altitude Xotics, he had a feeding schedule on his website, and I'm pretty sure in a 7-day, just starting like day 1 is Sunday and day 7 is Saturday. So in a 7-day span, there is only, I'm pretty sure based on the schedule that he posted, there's only 1 night where there is no food available to hatchlings and juveniles.
I feel like that's kind of crazy.
Right. And
I don't know though. Don't at me, internet. I breed snakes. They don't eat ever, basically. So
right. And I mean, it's somewhat well known that, and this is the truth. I'm not just going to talk shit about somebody to talk shit. I've never had an issue, but other people that have purchased his geckos that I'm close with have had issues with egg binding, premature death, kidney failure, and they've done necropsies, and they've got fatty liver disease, or they've just got excess of abdominal fat because they were power fed and grown too fast.
Mm-hmm.
And
but I think people are like, just to be fair, like I think people are like, people do this with ball pythons and other stuff too. But like, if I don't breed it by X year, it's somehow broken. And often the point of the matter is like there's a curve of growth rates that would be like normal. And if you're in the middle or a little slow on an ectotherm, it's probably better for the animal's long-term health on average.
Right.
But then this is like a struggle.
But the problem is most people, I'm gonna generalize and
Okay.
you know, at me on whatever you want. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Most people are
At
doing
him,
this.
not-
Most people are doing this. They're getting into this and they're spending money on animals because they want to get the fastest return that they can.
Hurry.
And they want to buy into a new gene, new project, whatever. And if they got a power feed, you know, your stranger puzzle, deep, whatever the fuck, to get a male the size and get a female the size so you can cash in before the prices crash, you know. And frankly, I would not, I mean, I admit it, I'm doing this basically as a full-time gig. Crested geckos aren't my only species, but I love the damn things. The crested gecko is the ball python of the gecko world and the lizard world. Anybody can breed them.
Both
I'm not
for good or evil.
right. I'm not breaking, you know, I'm not curing cancer or doing anything special here. I'm really good at breeding crested geckos. Yay me. But I'm working with other species. So yes, this is a business for me and I treat it as such. But yeah, if I wasn't doing this and making money and, you know, putting money in my pocket, I wouldn't have the number of animals that I do. But I'd still probably have 50 to 100 crested geckos just because I love the stupid things. I mean, it's just,
real quick.
I love them.
Interrupt. Glenn is about to start a colony outside. That is fire. Please post pictures on Instagram when you get them going. I think it's really fun that people are starting. And Wally's here. Say hi to Wally.
Hi, Wally. Oh, you should go peep. You should pull up his Instagram and show that Pictus gecko that he produced.
Okay. Let's talk about Pictus geckos now that we're kind of there.
Right.
We can like go dig back in. What kinds of Pictus geckos are you bringing to Dallas? What flavors?
I'm going to have a lot of bold stripe stuff. I'm going to have a lot of red base stuff. A lot of it stock came from Wally and some other people that are working with the reds. The bold stripe on the red stuff.
This one or the white one?
The white one there. Yep, that picture there.
It's very cool.
That I haven't seen anything like that before. I don't know what that is. And I don't know if he posted in the comments what it is.
He says it's not normal.
Yeah, it's not a normal.
Do you agree or disagree with Wally, who's maybe cooler than you and knows more, that about the heritability of anery? Do you want to venture a guess?
I don't know. I've talked to him about it. We've had this conversation.
Do you think it's like a Max Snow situation?
I'm going with that it's genetic, or let's just say there's at least one line of anery that's genetic. Like you can breed a het to a visual and get your traditional, you know, 50-50 visual, non-visual. And I know people that they bred visual anery to visual anery and they get 100% anery. You could do the same thing line bred, depending on how line bred the parents are. But I think it's genetic because
do you think it's Max Snow?
I'm not familiar with the leopard geckos. What is the Max Snow?
It's like an incomplete dominant anery. Like
it could be
phenotype change, but it's not that crazy. It's more obvious in the babies and then really obvious in the homozygote.
Right. I don't know. I mean, I have visual aneries, unrelated. I've got unrelated hets. I've got an anery army that will breed next year, and maybe we'll answer some of these questions. But I hatched a gecko earlier this year, a Pictus, that when it came up, it came from a set of possible het amelanistics. And I've had those animals for 4 years, never produced an amel. I hatched this gecko out. It looked kind of normal, your normal wild type as a baby. Now it looks like an amel with the orange coloring and the white bands. But the funny thing is, the white band has a black like outline around it, which you would not get with an amel. So I don't know what it is. And I asked somebody, another person that's working with Pictus other than Wally, my friend Stacy, and she goes, I don't think that's amel because of the black. And I said, well, yeah, I don't think so either. She thinks it's some weird hypo thing because she has other geckos that do that. But I'm like, this thing looked normal when it hatched, and now it's changed. So I don't know what that is, and that got put into a tub, and it's, we're going to let that grow up, and I'm going to see what happens.
Wally says that he talked long and hard, and he's so far to the left about P pictomorphs. And the for listeners, can you tell everyone what you see in a visual anery, quote unquote?
It's basically grayscale, and their eyes are, I want to use the proper term, because I think Stacy had nailed it with what she said it was. Oh, let me look at my chat. The eyes basically, it's not a traditional Pictus eye, and it's got like a silvery thing happening with it in the eye. And the other thing I've noticed, because to me it looks like it almost looks like a wild type gecko grayscale that's in shed. That's
so
what
it's
it looks
like a hypo
me.
effect too.
Yeah, a little bit. It's a gray gecko, and there's no typically on a Picta you'll see some orange in the eye. You don't see that with anery.
Like in the veiny looking part.
Yes.
The iris. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any, besides the albino, or any of the hypotypes causing ruby eyes?
I don't know.
I don't pupils.
And Wally is 100% right. And unfortunately, as Wally will tell you. Yeah.
Let me read this for the audio only people. I've noticed this, says Wally. I have a line that produces almost 80% silver eyes, and they are not anery. Very interesting.
Yeah, and Wally will agree with me when I say that. Unfortunately, the morphs and the different variations of Picta have all but disappeared in the hobby because people quit working with them. There was all kinds of crazy stuff, and Wally has told me stories about being at places like Tinley and seeing Picta geckos that he can't really describe with words because he didn't know what he was looking at, and they don't exist anymore because everybody.
They're like a Lovecraftian horror at this point. Like, Wally's overcome, and he has no words to describe.
Right. It's just because people quit working with them, and we don't know. Because Picta, anybody can breed them. They're from hatching. A male will breed at 8 to 9 months. Females are going to probably start kicking out infertile eggs at 9 to 10, 11 months. So you can start a project and really advance generations. You're getting a new generation every 11 to 12 months. And people need to work with them, document what they're doing, and just do what people did with leopard geckos, figure the stuff out. But not enough people are working with them. And like Wally's red line. I mean, people that are into Picta know about his red line, and it's a selectively bred, little bit of line breeding. That's all that is. And like I'm working with, I have some animals, and I've showed Wally pictures because they're offspring of animals I acquired from him. They start out looking like a normal wild type gecko, but the banding on them it's different. They look different coming out of the egg, and I've really noticed that now, and I'm keying in on that. And as they age, they get red, and they have like a rusty orange band. And at about a year,
you
10,
mean like the
11,
dorsal longitudinal line is orange instead of white, or like
Well, no,
It's
it's
white.
it'd be banding
side.
basically. Yeah, the sides. They start that way, but at about 10, 11 months, all that disappears, and
Like
they
the
get
side of the white disappears into the red.
well,
I'll
there's
get a
no
picture.
white. There's no white on them. Here, I'm gonna let me go grab a tub that's got them in it. But what happens at 9, 10, 11 months, they go black. I haven't posted any of these.
Once you go black, you never go back. That's what I heard. So interesting. Oh, you didn't post pictures of
Oh
them?
wait, right there. That gecko, that one right there. That looks red, and you see that the banding there. That gecko now is black, and there's no
Which
banding.
part's black?
Everything.
The part that was white was black? No, the whole thing is black.
Basically, the red is black, and that whitish color is like, it's almost like a silvery black. It's weird to describe. It's the similar effect of like the black knight and the leopard gecko.
Or
that gecko is now dark, and that gecko now has produced offspring that when they hatched, they looked just like that thing did as a baby, and other ones I produced, and they've all gone.
Key marker for turning black?
Here, I'm gonna go grab a tub. I'm gonna take a picture and send it to you on Insta.
Oh hell, well, yeah. Just make sure it's just one picture, otherugh the display right or whatever. Okay, very cool. But
no, it's I don't know, and I've sent, and see, Wally gave me a gecko at a show, and because I saw it and it caught my eye, and I'm like, that looks like my geckos that have turned dark. And that gecko that he gave me and said, see what happens, it turned black. So well,
while you're looking for that, you know how some of them are just banded across, and then they're banded with like a spinal longitudinal stripe, and then there's just more stripe? Is that all polygenic, or do you think something's controlling which version of it pops out? Like, you know, on fat tails, you sort of have like the stripe and the like side pattern. Is it like that, where it's pure polygenic, or is there you can sort of tease out a mode of heritability?
I think it's all polygenic.
Okay. You know, they said that about crested geckos, and my how the turns have tabled.
Oh, this will be there we go.
Wally says, I talked to Ron in some detail about P. Picta, and he's on board with the traits we're seeing are not morphs, but more line bred. And then Wally says, thanks for the kind words, Rick. And he says he wants the black one back.
Right. I have an army of those.
Did you send it to me on? Yes.
We're in the process.
We're working on it.
Yeah. And I've got. Let me clean this image up. There'll be tons of crickets in the picture because they got crickets dumped in there before I jumped on here.
What's up with this Instagram not being updated also?
I'm too busy for Instagram. I need to get back on that
67 weeks ago was your last post.
What's been a while.
That? Yeah.
So I just sent the picture. And it's actually got what's called
to Hare Hall Farm or Holback.
Jessica, Hare Hall Farm. Or wait, no, this would be Holdback Rack.
Okay, different accounts. 1 second.
Wrong account. Well, and even that.
Oh, I like that.
I don't know.
That's fun. That's like a Mandarin Dark Knight.
So the dark one there without the white stripe, that thing will be black. But
with the red orange band still there, or no bands? Which part's turning black? The interior part?
Everything.
Dang.
And see, like on this one, this is an outcross. This is me testing this dark line, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
or just random genetic weirdness. I'm not going to be so pretentious and name this line because I didn't do anything special. But
Wally still has some, right?
Oh yeah, he's got plenty of them.
Okay.
But I want to get him some animals, especially I want to get him some dark males and have him just put the dark males to some of his whatever and see what happens. And that's what I'm doing now too. I'm outcrossing, but that animal, the dark animal there that has, you've got the light and then the banding is that orangish rusty red, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
That was the adult, the male was one of the dark ones, and I paired it to a banded red female that was an offspring of red geckos that I got from Wally. And I did that pairing because I wanted to see if it's going to go dark, and other offspring from that pair, because this is the second year I've done that pairing. Mm-hmm. All of this particular gecko's offspring or siblings from last year and earlier this year are now getting dark, or the ones from last year are dark. Yeah,
that's polygenic sounding, not monogenic.
They look black, not true black. And there's some like grayscale in there, and there's a little bit of, it's like a silvery thing happening. It almost looks like they have little itty bits of stuck shed on them, which they don't. But it's these little, they're weird. That's the only way to describe it. I'm just trying to think. Let me go grab. Let's see if they're out and about and what they look like.
All right, I'll read some comments. Wally says, I appreciate Rick, but maybe next year as I'm overloaded with Pictus projects right now. And then you should send some of your geckos down with Rick, and he can vend them at Dallas for you. Just saying. It's interesting that some picture right a hatch what they will look like and turn nicer as they get older, and others are max color pattern at 6 to 8 months old. And Jake says, reminds me of how Bullens start red and turn black. Yeah. And then Lisa says, I always thought Pictus would be a great species to have a colony of as a feeder species because they are so prolific and better than probably something else. Anoles. Yeah. But they are cute too. All right. Bye, Wally.
I'm sending another picture to Hare, the holdback rack. Okay. This isn't even a primo example, but that's kind of the worst of what they look like as adults. She's not quite, that's a female. She's not quite black, and she still has kind of the whitish gray banding to her. Mm-hmm. And she's a young female, and she won't quit laying infertile eggs, and it's taxing her system, and she's being kind of a pain. Normally that.
Do they need to go through? I don't know how to put this politely. Like estivation, because they're from Madagascar. Are they from the dry part of Madagascar?
They're kind of they're found in lots of different places in Madagascar.
Everywhere Madagascar.
Yeah. And
I was like, maybe they will like chill the F out sometimes from like overlaying if you put them on the ice block, but they're not really on the ice block. They're on the estivation block.
Right. Know what I'm getting at? She's currently in a rack that is just at ambient room temp. There's no heat tape on it. She's in a tub with no heat tape.
Still doing it anyway.
Yeah, and it's been probably 2 or 3 weeks since she laid 2 eggs, so I'm hoping she's done, because that tail on her should be way thicker. A nice thick tail is an indication of fat reserves, and she's been depleted because she's laying eggs like crazy. Mm-hmm. My prime females that are breeding, they're laying 2 eggs every 20 to 30 days. They're really prolific. Super easy to breed. I know people. I've never had it happen. I think the most eggs I've ever gotten from a single female Picta is in the upper teens, low 20s.
That's a lot.
I know people that have gotten almost, over 30 eggs from a single female in a year, which is insane.
Mm-hmm.
They will. I think their breeding plan is breed fast, die young.
Mm-hmm.
Just flood the habitat with baby geckos because everything eats them in Madagascar.
Is Madagascar open for export of new Pictus geckos, or are they closed currently? I don't even know.
I've heard conflicting things, but chameleons are still coming in from Madagascar, I'm pretty sure.
So there could be a quota for geckos.
Right. And I had heard a year or two ago that they had closed Madagascar to export, but there's an importer here in the Minneapolis area that he's got fresh chameleons coming in all the time from Madagascar, it seems like. So I'm not 100% sure.
Pants or legally?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
but he also has the leaf tails from Madagascar coming in too. So
I love leaf tails a lot.
And if you look at his morph market, he's pretty blatantly clear about that. These are wild caught, imported animals that need an extra level of care, and don't buy this animal if you're worried about it dying, and don't come at me when it dies because I already warned you that it's a wild caught import. And
Stacy says 45 eggs for one female anesthesia. That's crazy.
That's Stacy from Root Scoots and Scales. Yeah, she's got Picta that just crank eggs out. So
do you just not incubate some of them? If you're just like, man, that's enough from you. I know we all have like a certain capacity to sell, and maybe she meets it, but like at some point you got to be like, hey, you don't incubate.
Yeah, at some point you're going to overproduce. I mean, I've got Ackie monitors that'll eat every single picked egg I want to feed them.
Right.
I mean, and if you hatch too many, it's the perfect size feeder lizard. And they have a ton of snakes that I most likely have probably been fed Picta geckos. So
do you think, speaking of overbreeding, do you think crested geckos are overbred? In your opinion, nobody at me. Or do you think they're bred an okay amount and it's just like lots of them can go be happy pets, so it's fine?
Right. I'm not these people that get on social media, and it's been happening lately because there's like 7,000 crested geckos on Morph Market. Everybody's up in arms like this is ridiculous. Just because you have, even if you like, there's breeders that I have bought geckos from that have said in the recent weeks, just because you have real nice stuff doesn't mean you have to breed everything.
That's true, but also
do what you want.
There's different forms of gatekeeping like built into comments like that. Like,
and that's
I decide what you can breed based on what I think is good. You know what I mean?
It's all gatekeeping bullshit, and I'm not about that, and I'm not going to tell anybody what to do. So,
okay.
And if you're gonna come at somebody that's like me, that's producing the numbers that I'm producing, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. Don't fucking tell me what to do. Bottom line. I mean, you can complain about it, and it's the COVID thing. It happened with everything. Ball pythons, crested geckos, the easy stuff to breed. People had money from the government. They were stuck at home. They had nothing to do. They have a handful of ball pythons or crested geckos. Like, hey, let's buy some more and breed them because you got Justin Kabelka and you got Brian Butler and you got Tiki's Geckos and you got all these people that are, established names in the community, and they're doing this full time and making a living. And, everybody wants to chase that and think they can be the next one. And
is 7,000 crested geckos too many, or is that fine? Though
it's the most I've ever seen on Morph Market.
I know, but
I think
it could be 40,000. Like who?
Like I said, it's a lot of geckos, and there's a lot of geckos on there that I would never buy. But there's a lot of geckos on there that would make perfectly fine pets. But is a person on Morph Market looking for a pet gecko? I mean, what's the
Sometimes.
demo?
Like I send people an $80 corn snake, and they spent $90 to ship it. They just want the perfect pet corn snake, and so they went to Morph Market, and they don't want to go to Petco. They want a snow or whatever.
Right, because they're buying from a breeder. They're not buying from a big box store. There is some of that, but I think the average person on Morph Market, the regular Morph Market user,
or middle-sized breeder,
or thinking about it, and there are the people on there, because I've sold geckos to them. There are people on Morph Market, and there's people at shows that just want a really, really nice looking crested gecko, ball python, whatever, and they're willing to spend pretty large amounts of money to get what they want.
All right, can I ask you a spicy question?
Sure.
Okay, here's a strategy I think I'm seeing in the crested gecko market. You can say whether you believe it to be true. So what appears, so even though like the market share of sold crested geckos is going down, but more of them, but like the dollar amount in the whole pie is smaller, it appears like the people are positioning themselves in the market to be like, I will out volume you and out quality you, and I'll sell them for whatever price I can, but I don't hold a price, so I just need to out volume you, and then that'll put you out of business because I can sell it for $50. I don't care. You know, there's like a volume thing that's happening on some tables.
Did you read my business plan?
Not just you though. I've seen other, and then I'm just like, oh, so if they just do an end cap and they just blast it, they will sort of annihilate littler breeders that need their 15 geckos to sell at retail price, but the other person can come in at whatever price because they make 1,000 geckos.
Hey, I complained about the person that shows up to one show and sells adult geckos for $50 to $100. I complained about that, where earlier this year I'm selling 30 to 60 to 75 geckos at a show for $50 to $150. So average price, let's say, is $100, and I'm selling volume at that price, and people were pissed, and people don't talk to me because of it, and it is what it is. It's
like the Uber model where you like come in, you sort of, that might not be the price you want, but it feels like that sort of ultra, and this is happening at ball pythons a little bit, where you can feel like people getting like ultra competitive on price point. Just be, and they might still be quality animals, but they're just like, I can make 5,000 geckos a year, so I can sell these 200 for this price, the blow them out price, which hurts everybody else, and then you don't come back, and then next year when I come back, I can come back in $100 more expensive. That's a vibe. What do you think about that vibe?
Well, I'm gonna have, like, the last couple shows in this area this year, and then the first couple shows in this area next year, I'm gonna have, I don't know, 100 plus, 6-month to 8-month-old crested geckos on my table. Mm-hmm. And there's probably not very many of them are going to be priced more than $150 or $200. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be nice. And when I started doing this, and it's why my biggest part of my collection is still the red-based Super Dalmatian. I want to produce amazing red-based Super Dalmatians that just, even out of the egg as babies, look super nice and are going to look stunning as adults. And I want to make enough of them where I can sell them for $100 to $200 and put a gecko in somebody's hands that looks nice now, and it's going to look amazing as an adult. And just, I can't keep them all. And I just, the stuff I'm holding back for the next generation is amazing, but the stuff I'm selling, a lot of people that are only a couple years into breeding would consider holdback stuff. Mm-hmm. And, people argue, if you're selling really nice animals, especially adult animals or almost ready to breed animals or ready to breed animals to another person, you're just creating competition. No, I'm creating a person I've done it this year, that have bought really expensive geckos that have spent in one sale for a trio, a 2-3, a 2-4, a 1-3 that have spent $3,000 to $10,000 with me on crested geckos, adults.
Mhm.
And I know they're going to breed them, and they're going to breed them next year. And those geckos out of the egg are going to look amazing, and they should be able to sell them. And I'm going to buy a bunch of those babies from them because they're going to be nice, and they're going to outcross, and they're basically, I can buy babies from them and keep them going so they're producing nice stuff. And if I'm buying babies from them, they'll buy adults from me. It's just you're creating another customer. You're not creating competition. That's the way I look at it. And that's the complete opposite of everybody in the reptile industry. If $100 to $200 geckos drive everything I do, the more of those I sell, the more money I have to spend with other breeders buying really nice geckos from. And it's just the pet quality stuff is what makes the world go around, and what keeps it pays my bills, and it lets me do what I'm doing. And I have customers that have spent lots of money with me this year. They're going to make amazing stuff. We talk weekly or every couple of weeks, and I want to be there, and I want them to succeed because they're going to make amazing stuff, and they can do 1 or 2 shows a year, and they can sell geckos for $300 to $1,000, and they can keep it small. And it's just, I don't look at it as competition. I mean,
so you think they're okay doing the value play where they try to get the maximum dollar amount out of their stock if you can do volume and not necessarily get the maximum amount of value out of your stock? Or are you setting us like your morph market? What's up with that? It's like you haven't been putting babies on morph market either.
Because baby geckos on morph market.
Okay, adults, whatever. Just like there's no.
Well, I don't, and I've sold. I have geckos that I could put on morph market, but at this point with 7,000 crested geckos on morph market, I don't need to put 50 or 100 on there when the average price is $300 to $400 to $500, and they're not selling. Just go pull $500 to $1,000 geckos on morph market and see how long they've been sitting there. Even if they're amazing, they're still sitting, and that's why they're going to the auctions. And I have bought a ton of really nice geckos on auctions for way below what they should be selling for, because that's what the market is dictating right now.
Is there a picture of a red-based Dow on your Instagram that is fired up? This one?
No. There are some. There's some.
It's orange.
And that's not even fired up. See, none of my good stuff is on there because I haven't updated it.
Come on, that's what I'm saying. You're killing me.
Right there, that pair. That's a pair that's running this year. So female on top, male on the bottom. The stuff that I ran that pair.
Spots and black spots.
It's got oil. Yep, and
okay.
Yep, and then it's got the red spots.
I like oil spots a lot.
That gecko's fired up. That gecko's name is Blotch. If you can still search the hashtag Blotch the gecko and see where that gecko came from and see its progression. But I mean, and I have animals from that pairing from last year that, in theory could breed next year. But I have so many females. My females are 3 years old before I start breeding them now. Most people breed at 2. They do better. I can do it both. See, I'm doing it because it's a business. So the volume and $150 geckos keeps the lights on and keeps me doing what I'm doing, and allows me to diversify and do these other species and pursue these passion projects. The people that I'm selling these really expensive pairs and trios and other groups to, they're doing it as a hobby. They're going to produce 15 or 20 or 30 crested geckos a year. And, if they'll sell what they want to sell, give away what they want to give away. They're not depending on the income from doing it. And most of them have no desire to get into it full time. Right. And
Yeah.
if they can be sustaining where they can produce a couple dozen crested geckos every year, sell them to pay for Pangea, maybe buy other species, just use it to fund their reptile, collection.
Right.
That's all
So
well and
Richard is
good.
not on team. There are too many crested geckos. He's just on
No,
team. There's too many crested geckos on Morph Market.
no, no, and like I said, I breed every goddamn crested gecko you have. I don't care. I mean, I'm
Right. I think
people are saying I probably overproduce. I don't.
Yeah, probably.
It doesn't stop me. I mean, I'll give away crested geckos if I have to. I mean, it's just, it's my main species and it's what I work with and it's what I love. But it's funding everything else. That's my bottom line. It funds
sometimes
everything.
I think some people should not breed X species, but then like if someone has the capacity to sell that's exact same species and another person does not, and that person will be like saddled with 20 animals they can't take care of and that they will not be happy about, but then this other person can produce 40 and sell all of them and be happy, then it's okay. Does that like math check out? Sometimes I'm like, some people have one clutch of ball pythons, can't sell them, and have them for 3 years, and they're like, "What am I doing?" And they never go to a show. They just listed on Morph Market. They were overpriced, and they were like under hustled. Right. And you're like, "Okay, no, there is no production of ball pythons from you that is acceptable because you do not have the ability to find homes for them."
It's a skill issue.
Yeah, and then it's just like, oh, but then like this person can make 500 and sell them all in 1 year. Like they could completely sell out, and you're like, oh, so it's not. There are too many of some things, yes, but usually it's by the people who aren't able to actually do anything about it. Does that make any sense?
I don't care what animal you're breeding. The people that complain the loudest are the ones that aren't selling, or the ones that complain the loudest are selling the least. And you got to evaluate, why am I not selling? What's the deal? And I have found a niche in this market locally that I'm at. I firmly believe you got to be at every show in your local market. You got to be a fixture there so people know you're there. And for the last like 6 cold-blooded shows in Bloomington, Minnesota, I've been in the same corner. There's 2 different venues, but I'm always in the same corner. It's the you walk in the venue, take a right, I'm in the corner. And I'm a fixture there, and people know that I'm going to be there. And I have the biggest chunk of my business is repeat customers. And, I have customers that I've been selling geckos to now for 2-3 years, and they come look at my table because they're looking for something specific for a project. And they know they can come to me and show me, hey, this is a potential pair. I've got this gecko. What would you do? And sometimes I have a gecko and say, oh, I would put this one with it or this one. And if I don't have it, I'll be like, go look at this person. They've got it. If I don't have it, I want them to be happy and find what they want, because they're more likely to come back to me to buy from me again, because they know I'm not there just to take their money. It's the relationship. And that's the best part about this. I mean, I've got a small circle of customers that they're going to start breeding. Like 2025 is going to be their first breeding season, and I can't wait. And I want them to be successful, and I want them to produce nice stuff, because it's just better. The better quality the animals are at the show, the better everybody's going to do. And, or however you're going to sell them. If you want to produce.
Go ahead.
If you want to produce 10 or 12 geckos a year and give them away to friends, family, whatever, or sell them, who cares? But my business model is, it's volume, but I tell people, you're coming to me, you're buying a gecko from me, you're going to get what's going to be a better looking adult for a cheaper price. Buying it as a juvenile or a hatchling, or even as an adult, you're going to get it cheaper from me because I have so many, and it's the way it is. And, if you want to spend $1,000 on a gecko or $2,000 on a gecko, I got you there too. I got you covered from $50 to $5,000. You know,
All right, I have a spicy question. One more spicy question, but there could be more. Some people have done the crested gecko price correction for 2023 and 4, and some people have not. And then I'm like, is this delusion? Is this like because they're bigger names, they feel like they can get away with it? Are they getting away with it? Are they an embarrassment to the hobby? That's where I'm at with all that. Like, what is your take on like the pricing?
I'm looking through my phone because I want to read it. I don't want to paraphrase. I don't want to misquote.
Direct
because this is brilliant, and I completely agree. Assuming he didn't delete the post.
What's up, Mecco Morse? How are you doing? We're just talking about geckos.
And I can't remember how far back he posted it. Oh, let's see here.
And obviously, people can put any price on their animal that they want.
Right.
If they value it the way that they value it, that's the end of that. But it's like very clearly like trends of people. And I'm like, you know, bro, it's not 2021 anymore. That's for sure. Like, I like crested geckos. They're fun, but I don't.
All right, I can't find it. Anthony Caponetto at AC Reptiles. ACR, as a lot of people say. He is known. People look at his prices on his website, Morph Market, whatever, and they look at the animals and they're like, that seems ridiculously overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
But then you look at the original price has got a slash through it, and he's running 50 to 65 or 75% off that price. Mm-hmm. So he's got a $2,500 gecko that he's got priced for $1,000, and they're very nice geckos. It's soft scale, empty back. It's the way he's labeling his crested geckos, because we know the genes that are working in those animals. It's starting to look like ball pythons. You know, it's got 5 or 6 things in front of it. And he made a statement saying that he realized that he was affecting pricing in the market, or what people perceived as what the price should be on animals, based on his high prices and then being slashed with sales, or with a sale price. And it seemed like things were like perpetually on sale. And it sure seemed to me like, based on what he said, and I wish I could find the post because I don't want to, misquote him, or, but paraphrasing, he basically said he was going to adjust his pricing structure because he realizes the effect that he has on the market. And what normally is his sale price is just going to become the regular price of that animal. Because he feels that the people that are his customers, like me and other people that are buying and getting into the soft scale, the empty back, and stacking things on top of each other, they're buying it. They're seeing these inflated prices, but you're always buying on sale. And
yeah, and also like you can get a super soft, super EB for not even $500. You could just go get one.
Yeah, where? Show me. I'll buy them all for $500.
I've seen them on certain auctions.
Yeah, the auctions, and I bought a lot of them on auctions, and a lot of them have been from.
But you can also see like clear hets that are probably Anthony Caponetto like descendants, and so like, is it even worth $500? Maybe it is. They are cool, but like
I have the attitude, and
I would never pay $2,500 for super soft EB. Ever. I don't have any fucking crested geckos, so
right. I've had this attitude from the very beginning, starting breeding and purchasing animals. If it's the right animal, the perfect animal for your project, price shouldn't be a factor. You're always happy to get it what you perceive to be way lower than its actual value. But if there's an animal out there floating around, if there's a jet black base, super empty back, super soft scale, male with the Anthony Caponetto hairy line structure on it, that's a gecko that
Yeah, if it has
it's
hairy. I don't know. I've
it's
seen
very
lots
specific, and I'll pay $2,000 for it or $3,000 for it, because I've got females that he can go to, and it's an animal it's an animal for a project that I'm working on, and that way I would pay an inflated price just to have that animal because I know what I could produce with it. But that's just my attitude.
Sure.
Some people have that attitude. It's
I know,
I'm
but
not gonna.
if there are certain players in a market who are just like, I'm fucking top shit, so I'm doing quadruple the pricing, but none of their customers can get that price. None of their customers can get that price, and everybody's selling it for $100 at a show as a pet.
Right. Yeah.
Doing?
That's why he's changing his pricing structure, because he realized that's happening. And you got to be realistic. Yeah, you look at doesn't matter what it is. Look at the price of axanthic crested geckos. Look at the price of sables. You can get visual axanthic hatchlings for $500 to $700 now.
Mm-hmm.
Hatchlings were going for $5,000 2 years ago. Adults were going
2.5 years ago.
Right. Adults were going for, what did Brian Butler at Altitude, what did he auction off that visual male for? What, 23 or 24?
Yeah,
that's what it went for.
The percent drop in crested geckos is worse than the percent drop anywhere else. It is absolutely like a collapse.
And I could go back and find this post because it's out there, because I didn't delete it, because it came true. It's not like, I just read the tea leaves and said, this is what's going to happen. And funny, it happened. 2020, 2021, when the Koreans were buying everything, every visual axanthic, every head axanthic lily whites, and paying the inflated prices, and anything that looked nice, they were buying it, having it shipped to Korea. And guess what happened? And 2.5, 3 years later, they're breeding crested geckos over there. It's on an industrial scale. They're very efficient, and they're breeding visual to visuals, and they're producing visuals, and they have reversed the flow. They flooded the market, and the prices dropped 90% in 6 months. And people laughed at me and told me I was an idiot when I said that. And then it came true. And funny, crickets, nobody realizes, oh, he was right. Not that I want to pat on the back for being right, but I was fucking right. And people are bitching that they have visual axanthics that they paid 15 to 20 grand for their pair to produce them. They can't sell babies for $1,000 now.
Right, it's
so they're not
them
years to get their money back.
Yeah.
And they're selling visuals to somebody else who's like, oh, they're just selling visuals to somebody that's going to buy visuals and breed them and produce more. So the price is only going to go lower. I mean, it's going to find some level, and a really well-structured, really prime example of an axanthic crested gecko will still command a higher price than a slick almond-looking head axanthic that you see out there. Quality is always going to sell for a higher price.
Do you feel like you spent too much money on crested geckos during the pandemic? Or are you happy because you've gotten enough money back out of them? You know what I mean? Like, is there any misses where you're like, oh,
I wish I would have spent more.
So wish he would have spent more, everybody.
Because it didn't matter what it was.
Buy now or whatever.
It didn't matter what it was. You could sell it in 2020 and 2021. I can't tell you how many $1,200 geckos I sold, because that's what the stimulus checks were. I mean, it's insane. People paid ridiculous prices for geckos in 2020 and 2021 because that's what the market dictated. And I was fortunate that I didn't buy a ton during that time. I did buy a lot, but for every gecko I bought, I had 5 that I sold, or 3 that I sold. And I just wish that I would have taken the money that I was making and spent more of it to buy more animals, so I'd be in a better position now to be producing what I like, and I wish I had more of the super empty back stuff and more of the super soft scale stuff. and because I really like it. And there's a lot of people out there that really like that stuff, and I wish I had more of it so I could produce more of it to sell it to more people. And I clear a substantial amount of money every year as this business. I'm profitable, and this year especially, I've reinvested in animals other than crested geckos. I'm buying other animals, other stuff I want to work with, more challenging, difficult species to work with, whether it's snakes or lizard, whatever. Because I know I can breed the Picta and I can breed the crested geckos, and it's work to do it, but I'm not worried about production. They're just going to do their thing. I'm going to collect eggs. They're going to hatch. I'm going to feed them. They're going to grow, whatever. And I can dedicate more time to, other species that not a lot of people that are working with, or they're a little bit more difficult to breed, more finicky, whatever, and let the crested geckos and the Picta geckos drive the business, and let me, I want to figure out how to breed. I want to get my group of Japanese forest rats to breed. My 2 females, they laid beautiful clutches this year, but they were all slugs. I'm like, what did I do wrong? I want to figure that out. I want to figure out these other species. I want to get into the weird stuff.
Are you going to need help? Like somebody to come in and just do like the easy food changes or whatever
I need help now, but
put in your applications. Go to
I need help now, but I don't trust anybody. I'd rather be buried in work and feel like I'm drowning versus trying to trust somebody to put the care and attention into my animals that I would give them. I just don't want anybody in my building, biosecurity and all. Yeah. I mean, and theft issues. I don't trust people. Even my best friends in this hobby that live in Minnesota, nobody's been to my building because, and they totally understand why. And, I said, it's a no-go zone. I mean, might as well have a wall around it, I mean,
how's Richard going to scale more? Or are you?
The only thing that's going to increase, I think, I'm going to fall short, but I thought I would hit 1,000 crested geckos produced this year. I'm probably going to I'm
not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you.
I'm probably going to fall in that 775 to 825 range. Next year, I'll probably try to aim for 1,000. Because there is still a wholesale market out there. And, I can and I'm working, I've got things cooking right now where I have 1 or 2 people that may be taking 250 to 300 geckos off my hands here in the next month.
Is ACR still running like 50% off of their wholesale lots, or did they?
He's running a killer sale right now for Labor Day. On really nice stuff. Let's see. I
just mean, is the wholesale market doing okay if he's fire sailing it all the time? That's what I mean.
So look at this. I know
there's some wholesale.
This is crazy. But... This is crazy, and it's free advertisement. And I should probably go buy some of these.
Here, let's
look. So go to his wholesale. Go up to the top. Wholesale click the wholesale bundles.
The 5 times. Oh, just the regular.
Yep.
Not the 5 times specialty bundles.
So he's selling 36 juvenile geckos, no tails, 15 ultra high end, 15 high end, and 6 common morphs for $340. And
right, but he's had these sales going on for almost a year now, where he's clearly to me struggling to sell overproduction.
He produces so many geckos, and the stuff he's producing now, because I've been buying wholesale from him for going on 5 years. The stuff he's selling wholesale now blows the stuff out of the water that he was even selling a year ago.
Okay. I'm not saying like they're bad. I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying, is he a distressed seller, or is this just like this is his normal sales and he's just pretending it's 50% off because he's been 50% offing for a while?
Everything's on sale all the time. He's doing what Mike Wilbanks was doing, the 50% off thing.
Not do that anymore.
So if you look at it, and he is adjusting things, and that's why at some point he's realizing that it looks silly to have everything 50% off, I think.
Yeah.
And he's just gonna sell it for what it is.
Change the price. Okay.
Right. I think he's eventually gonna do that, but there's still like I was just scrolling through his wholesale stuff just now here. And I'm like, oh, I got to go back and look at this when I'm done here to see what he's got, because the stuff he's doing, it's like I've joked within my friend group, I want to be ACR North, because I have bought so many things from him, and I love I love the soft scale, and I love the empty back, and I love stacking it on top of Lily White and all that other stuff, and I tell my wife this all the time when I'm looking at his website and looking at his adult stuff. Every time I look, I'm blown away at what he's selling and how nice it is, and how the quality and the way these animals look even from a year ago. It's just upping his game constantly, and it's better and better. And I like what he's working with. So I'm a fan. I'm a fanboy. Call me that if you want, but he's doing amazing stuff, and it gets better and better. And the stuff he's wholesaling now is wholesale market wise, his stuff is the best stuff out there. You can't beat it. And I've bought a lot from him, and it's because he's working the same stuff I want to work. And he produces a ton of animals. I mean, he's been doing it for 20 years now, I think. So, and he does it full time. It's just he's a machine, and he's producing animals. I'm sure he has wholesale contracts that
I'm sure
that he has to fulfill. And
I just I don't know. I was like, his wholesale lots didn't used to be on sale all the time. So I'm like, is it stress, or is this like a game?
But he went through a time where he didn't have anything listed. He had nothing. It was like he had nothing available. And I think he just said, I'm not selling anything. I'm holding everything back. And in a year or two, I'm just going to blow everybody's doors off with how good my stuff looks.
Was that the time his super worms made his fertility go way down the very next year?
I don't know what something happened. I don't know what, and I'm not going to speculate. But I did notice
somewhere Tiki's maybe.
Didn't Sean Bradley interviewed him? And when
maybe it was Sean's.
When Anthony could actually get a word in, he dropped some tidbits in there that were gold. I mean, I wish he would have been able to talk more, but I don't know. I mean, if I wanted to, if I got rid of everything and just focused on crested geckos, I could do what he's doing and attempt to wholesale like he's doing and have the adults and try to sell the adults for what he's doing if I just wanted to focus on one species. But I don't want to do that. I mean, I don't know, what does he produce? 10 or 15,000 crested geckos a year? It's just, it's crazy.
Think crested geckos are very attractive. Very attractive.
I love them.
I'm like, what am I gonna do in a market like this at this stage? Nothing. I can't contribute in any way, so fucking not bothering.
If you have any ambition to buy a whole bunch of crested geckos, even if they're really nice, spending top of the market prices currently, which are way lower than they were a year ago or 2 years ago, but you want to jump in and buy really nice stuff and get rolling out of the gate for 2025, I'd say don't fucking do it. It's a waste of money and a waste of time.
Right. I'm just like, I would rather buy Yuri's or Chewy's, which we're going to talk about because Lisa asked about it. Because I'm like, oh, there's still space for you to be like a Chewy lord in your little show.
They're underrepresented.
Yeah.
Lisa
a long time ago asked a question about chewies. I think she said, "Why?" Oh God, I forget. Why? Oh, why aren't they more popular?
It's they don't reproduce. They are not as productive as crested geckos. Same with the lychees. Chihuahua prices will maintain and be relatively stable, even on the bottom end, just like lychees will, because they're not as prolific. They're a little bit harder to breed. A Chihuahua, it needs to be eating probably 75 to 80% insects, and the rest is crested gecko diet. Gecko days, that they said that on a podcast. They need more insect protein, and they also talked about people that feed the typical domestic cricket. They noticed with their chewies, because that's what they were feeding, that their females weren't as productive. They deworm their entire collection. Next year, the number of eggs from the females went up because they were full of parasites they were full of what's the stupid parasite that's always in the domestic cricket?
Pinworms, tapeworms.
Yeah, the pinworms.
Both of them are there.
They said their chihuahuas were loaded with pinworms. They had such a parasite load that.
Were they doing regulars or bandeds or both?
They were doing regulars.
Okay.
And I can't.
Can you tell
that might have been on
together?
Trap Talk. That might have been on Trap Talk 2 or 3 years ago when they talked about it.
Yeah. No, yeah. Crickets are full of worms. It's fine. I just I like the color palette of a chewy a lot. I think there's a little bit of weird stuff where this needs to be $5,000 because it's a little bit more white, and I'm like, does it?
Just recently, I don't know who posted it because I don't spend a lot of time doom scrolling on Instagram anymore. But I saw a picture of a Chihuahua, and I looked at it and go, "What?" It blew me away. I was like, "That doesn't." It was a color palette and a combination of pattern that I have never seen on a Chewy before. I'm like, that's pretty cool. And I've seen, at Tinley, you see Paul from Rack House. He's got all his gargoyles, and then he's got some just insane Chihuahuas.
What did I see? Melanistic lychees? I think that's what it was. I thought that was pretty cool. It looked like
Mels are cool.
Smog.
Yep.
I was into that. I would do that.
But it's the lychees and the chewies are just they're gonna the low end price on those is always gonna be higher than something like a crested gecko. I mean, you're not gonna. I do not.
Yeah, they seem to poop a lot on
when
people.
I didn't have the room and they were expensive, and I would rather spend that money on really nice crested geckos. Now I have plenty of room. I have the money, but I would not be able to sell lychees in this market because Bob at JBI has just he's 20 minutes from me, 15 minutes from me. He has killer stuff. My friend Keith that I'm vending at Dallas with, he's got killer stuff. And they vend all the shows here in Minnesota, and I can't compete. And now that I consider them friends, I joked with them. We got real drunk at Tinley in March, and we went out to dinner, and I said, we had this conversation. I said, if I wanted to, I'd go spend $100,000 on lychees, and I'd bury both of you, and you'd never be able to sell another one in Minnesota. I was really drunk when I said that, but they knew I was serious. But I respect them. I said, if I'm going to do it, I got to do it and outproduce you and bury you in volume and make you quit. That's the only way I'm going to sell them. So I'm like, and when somebody comes up to my table and looks around like, do you have any lychees? I said, no, go talk to Keith and Bob. Or when Chris from Epic Style is at the shows, I said, go talk to Chris. Because
sometimes multiple good breeders in the same zone elevate each other, and sometimes they literally just compete and nobody's really making money. So it just depends on how good the market is, the buying market.
If I'm gonna spend a good lychee pair, you're gonna spend $5,000. You put them together, and that female might be a bitch and kill the male. I just don't want to deal with the stress or the heartbreak.
Women, you know what I mean?
And it's like even good lychee breeders, they have years where they don't produce shit because their animals don't cooperate, and that would drive me crazy. I don't need that stress in my life. I stress out enough about these dumb crested geckos behind me when they're not laying eggs every 30 days like they usually do. I mean, I track everything. I can tell you every female I got back here behind me that's breeding. I can tell you average day per clutch, between clutches. I can tell you how many eggs they've laid in their life. I've got all this data, and it's predictable. So I go through and pull eggs at the same time because I just expect them, and they're predictable. It's the basic bitch of reptiles. It's the basic bitch of lizard. Anybody can breed them, just like anybody can basically breed ball pythons. I mean,
that's fine. Yeah, I think they're cute.
I'm not doing anything special, and I love them, and it's just you have a species that grabs you, and you just run with it, and whatever. But like the other stuff you were talking about, Urodactyloides, I'm gonna go hard on those in 2025. I'm gonna buy trios or whatever. I'm gonna buy.
I think they're like probably my favorite New Caledonian species. Period. Yep. They're so
cool. Yeah. They're amazing and
slow. That's the best part. Slow.
You set up a bunch of bioactives. You put a trio in there, and just let them go.
I keep waiting for. This is a pro tip, but like I have a wholesale account with Josh's Frogs. Let me like put some up, and I'll just buy. They're not gonna have crypto. I'll just buy a 10 lot, grow them out, pick the male or females that I want or something. And then sell the rest. It'll be fine. But
what else? I'm just curious. What else are you buying from Josh's Frogs wholesale?
I could buy whatever I want, but I don't. I've just been thinking about because some of the shows I've been, there are no supply vendors, buying Josh's Frogs bedding and stuff.
Yeah.
I got an account, and then I was like, "Oh, they do all their dart frogs and stuff." And I'm like, "I can't take care of dart frogs. Oh, fucking kill them probably." So, not doing that, but I could do a little weird gecko that I can take care of. Basically, does that make sense?
Do Pictus geckos?
They don't have them on Josh's Frogs.
They used to have just piles of them. All the time.
So sometimes they'll sell stuff retail, but it won't be wholesale. Right? So most of the time things are the percent off will only be 5% or something. So for their internally produced frogs, dart frogs, it's like a 50% margin or something. So if they sell it
high
for 50, you could buy it from them for 25, which is fine. Right? It's fine. You could buy and you could buy smaller lots. You don't have to buy 50 or something. You just buy 5. But I don't want to take care of dart frogs.
Right.
So I don't know. I would do it for Yuri's though. I think that would be cute and fun for me.
Yeah.
I do think chewies are aesthetic, but I don't know. Last question, then we'll finish up this party. Do you like raw chicken crested geckos?
No.
You don't want a pinky
whether it's
pie?
the leucistic, whether it's the genetic hypo, which the super form is the blizzard, which looks like a piece of raw chicken. There's potential there with those genes, but you look at the leucistics and the raw chicken geckos, and they have no crest. Yeah. It's the same thing with the super caps, But now look at what people are doing with cappuccinos, and especially the frappuccinos. Those things it's ridiculous what people are doing with those now. And what people are doing with, the super sables and the sable lily whites, and, there's a lot of cool stuff out there, and there's people that are producing, like Early's geckos. I think he has a very small collection, but it's all super sable and lily white and mixing and matching, and his stuff that he's producing now is just amazing. And that high end stuff like that is always going to be high end and demand more money. but it's everybody bought sables and spent 20 grand on them and thought, oh, I'm going to produce babies and sell them for 20 grand.
Mm-hmm.
The price comes down, and it's just a lot of the drama and a lot of the issues in the crested gecko hobby stems from the
speculative investments.
Yeah, it's speculative investment. It's the people that are perceived to be at the top of the hobby, and because they have these really cool geckos and they're selling them, and when the prices fall, they're shit happens and they start drama because they've invested all this money in these animals and they're not reselling them, or they're not selling. Just like what happens with ball pythons. Look at the number of people that are dropping out of the ball python deal. The crested gecko people are doing the same thing. And the economy right now sucks. So there's a lot of things going on, and I feel my business model and the way I'm doing things, I can ride this out and position myself for the next uptick, in
the
prices
way you're
and market.
doing things, no offense, kind of, but I've watched let me air quote this, other higher end, maybe more well-known crested gecko breeders become that. Like, they used to sell them one at a time, but now it's more like a volume game again, where they're like, these are 300, these are 200, these are 100, these are 50. Here's a big table of shit, and pick which color you want. They're all pretty and they're all happy, whatever. But nobody's holding prices or whatever. They're just
it's because the economy sucks.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line, and people don't have the money to spend on things that they're going to have to spend money on to maintain. So, you talk to the long-term ball python breeders and other people that have been doing this for decades, how many crashes they've been through. You ride it out and you try to capitalize on the upswing and try to ride out the low spots, and it all evens out in the end.
Parkour Geckos asks, what do you think of the pixel and highway genes?
I've seen some of the pixel stuff that's really cool. And I think even now, see, this is the thing. I'm aware of this new stuff, the pixel and all these other things, but I don't pay attention to what people are doing because there's so much drama surrounding it and arguing about it, and I don't have time for that shit. It's like Ozzy says from Ozzy Boys, shut up and breed.
Do you think the Facebook group, What Is My Gecko Worth, should be deleted?
That might be the most toxic cesspool on the internet.
I like to go there for a chuckle every once in a while.
I think I'm banned from that group because of my very strong opinion. I think, but even if I wasn't, I don't go there because who cares? It's
interesting though that a group like that formed. Nobody does that for ball pythons.
And then the people,
ball pythons like a speculative, nasty, morph pyramid scheme species too. Doesn't matter.
And then the people,
only the crested people actually fucking fake baked a group.
The people in that group, when they post a gecko and ask what it's worth and don't get an answer from the admins and the other people in the group, they get all butthurt, and then they say that the admins and the moderators are forming a cabal to devalue everybody else's geckos so their geckos look better. It's it's so stupid.
But it's 10,000 people in that one group,
right? But it's it's drama, and I don't have time for it, and it's dumb. It's focus on what you're doing. Keep a close circle of people that you trust within the hobby that work with the same stuff you do, that you can talk to about pairings and things like that, and avoid the drama. Don't participate in it. Maybe sit on the sidelines and laugh at it, and make fun of the people that are involved in the drama. But it's like David said, I don't know, a year or two ago, when people were arguing about fucking sables or caps or whatever the hell they were arguing about, and he posted in multiple places, it's just geckos, guys. Basically, chill the fuck out. We don't need to fight. It's like, you don't hear people now maybe there is still a hot button gene or topic in the ball python community. You don't hear them arguing about a gene, you know? I mean,
well, we kind of argue about everything all the time as like a low simmer.
yeah, but
I don't know. We're not like
the arguments in the crested gecko community are very loud and they spill over into everything. And it's just, you're arguing over dumb shit that doesn't fucking matter. That's my opinion. I don't care. I mean, and then you have the people that they
sorry, I'm yawning a lot. I feel bad.
Yeah,
I'm not
you have people
yawning
that
at you.
They basically virtue signal and say, "Oh, I'm not going to work with." When the whole thing about the reduced nostril size and super caps happened, you had people virtue signaling all over social media about, "Oh, I'm not going to work with super caps because they're not healthy animals."
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares that nobody cares that you announce to the world that you're not going to work with this animal. Nobody. I mean, it's virtue signaling. It's just it's stupid, you know. And then
just don't work with it. You don't have to tell everybody.
Why announce it? Are you doing? It's clout chasing. Who cares? I mean, the worst part about this is all reptiles, but the worst part about any reptile species community is the 10 to 15% of people in it that cause 95% of the bullshit and drama. I mean, it's just
like me.
What drama do you cause?
I said ball pythons are overpriced.
They are. Hell, there's crested geckos that are out there that are overpriced. I scroll through Morph Market occasionally and like, it's been on Morph Market for 6 months at the same price. It's never going to sell. Either cut the price, pull it off, whatever, but you're never going to get that money because the market.
Crested geckos should be like, a lot of ball python people are like hodl forever, like price wise, and then some of them are like, you know what? If I don't get any messages or traction on it, I should like take a new picture and maybe wiggle the price down 10% at like the 3-month point, the 2-month point. Is that how you would handle high-end crested gecko sales on Morph Market?
The problem with any high-end, low-end, middle-end crested geckos is like with ball pythons, single gene or a clown pied female, there's kind of a range, whatever it is. But a tricolor crested gecko, red base, you know, what defines it as high end or low end? There's so many.
Personal
you can't
taste.
Right. It's personal taste and what catches your eye, and structure's a factor, color's a factor, pattern's a factor. There's lots of factors, but it's so hard to compare two crested geckos, even though they look similar. It's so hard to compare and say, what should the price be for this? Unless it's something like an exanthic, a visual exanthic male, you know, adult male should be in this price range, whatever it is. A female should be in this price range. That's kind of accepted. You know, a lily white exanthic, a sable, there's a range, but even within that range, you have a high-end example of a sable and a low-end example.
Right, so, but if you're still sitting on you priced it, you just decided that was fair. If you're still sitting at it 6 months, should a crested gecko people be like, maybe I should go down $100? I know it's bigger by then or whatever, but like,
it's bigger by then, and that's why they justify saying not cutting the price. Cut the price and move it if you're going to sell. I know
some of these. I don't do crested geckos. I can tell your gecko's ugly, so it's been sitting on there, and I think it's ugly.
And
wholesale it.
Hey, it's a plug for Dallas. I'm going to have crested geckos on the table at Dallas. That to me, I value them more than what I'm going to price them at. I'm only pricing them the way I am because hopefully to entice a buyer. And you've said it's kind of it can be a pet quality show.
Oh
and
my God.
You know,
I don't know what's going to happen this year. This last time it was pet central.
I'm going to be aggressively priced, and I'm going to have some really nice animals that are going to be priced high to maybe catch that potential breeder eye. But I'm going to have a lot of stuff in that $150
I'd bring $100 crested geckos.
Yeah, I think I'm only probably going to bring,
or maybe 100, whatever. I don't know. A lot.
I might bring 100, and I might have 30 picked on the table. but I'm going to have a lot of geckos. My average price is probably going to be around 300 to 350, but I'm going to have a lot
I
in that
don't know if
100.
those will move.
I don't know either. I'm going to bring everything.
$100, 300.
Yeah,
That's like the price point that seems to be like the most popping.
Right. I don't know what to expect. And
maybe it'll be different because, like, I don't know. A lot of people did not come back to vend that had vended in the spring. And I'm like, is that because they just didn't do as well as they wanted to? And so they're whatever. Or they're doing other shows because there's shows running the exact same weekend elsewhere.
And this is the first multi-day show that I will have ever vended. And
oh, really?
Yeah, all the shows up here are 1-day shows. So maybe by Sunday I'm gonna want to sit on my butt behind my table and just, ignore everybody. But I'm gonna be, especially Friday, because typically the people in there Friday are looking to buy, and that's why they're there for VIP. And then early on Saturday, I'm gonna be working and doing the sale pitch, and I'm gonna do everything I can do to convince people to take one of my geckos home, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. So, like, Friday wasn't, like, crazy sales or whatever, but it was fine. There were people there. But, like, it wasn't one of those shows where people fly in and they're just only walking around Saturday and they leave. There were people like that. It was very even. So that meant I was like, oh, it is a pet show. Like, they come Saturday, they come Sunday, 5,000 people a day or something like that. And it was pretty even. So, you have a chance to sell happy pets all day long.
And I'm going to be with a couple people that I like hanging out with anyway, and we're going to be mixing cocktails and drinking behind the table on Saturday, and we're going to have fun, and hopefully we sell some animals and walk around and talk to people, and I'm going to meet some people that I've only ever I'm going to meet you in person, and I'm going to be able to look at your stuff, and you may convince me to buy corn snakes and decide to breed corn snakes. Do you want? Yeah, how many do I want? Yeah. I look at it this way. I could buy some really nice stuff from you.
I'll trade you for a Pictus gecko.
And then go buy some really nice stuff from Eric and put it together and make really nice stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have access to some, and hell, Trembauer or Craig's gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's gonna have killer stuff. And I want to take some time to run around and look at what everybody else has there, because there's
a lot of stuff. It takes a long time to look at it. So, like, I'm actually jealous of people who can actually fucking look.
Right. There's going to be some vendors there that I follow on Instagram or social media, watch podcasts that they're on. I want to go look at their stuff and say hi to them and whatever. So I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I mean, I want to cover expenses and maybe put some money in my pocket, but I'm going into it with, maybe low expectations, and it's just going to be a fun weekend, and
but you're not
see what happens.
Pork, right?
No, I'm not. I'm bringing animals, and that's
just
it.
Geckos. All right.
It ain't worth bringing anything else.
And Murder Smorfs asks, do y'all think animals sell better in delis or displays?
I don't. I used to think. I don't. I swear with gecko, like crested geckos and like colubrid people, they want to pick up a deli cup and look at it. And I think the personally in my market in Minnesota, the pet person looking at my ARS displays, my tables with ARS displays, they look at that and go, God, that looks like those displays are expensive. The light's expensive. The banners, he's got a lot of money wrapped into us, and his geckos are going to be too expensive. Whereas if you got a bunch of deli cups, but you still look nice, and your table looks nice, and your hair's combed and your shirt's not wrinkled, they like. I think a lot of crested gecko people like to come over, pick up a cup, look at it. They'll ask you, hey, can I pop the lid off and look? And I kind of, that's on a case by case thing, and it's in when a gecko's in a case, or a corn snake is in a case. They can't get a good look at it because it's in that case, and you don't want to be sliding that thing open and let everybody touching it. But with at least with a deli cup, they can pick it up and look at it and get different views of it. And if I have a crested gecko in a cup and they picked it up and they've held onto it for 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, I'll just say, hey, pop the thing open and hold on to it, because to me, it seems like they're going to buy. And as soon as you say, hey, handle that thing, that's when the sale happens. So,
yeah, like if they're really looking at it a long time, it's just weird. Like extremely high end hognose people, extremely high end crested gecko people have a bunch of make a shit ton of loose delis. It's very normal. And
and I'm going to have a mix. I'm going to have ARS displays and I'm going to have delis. And it's just because I'm vending with 2 other people, and we're going to try and keep it where there's 2 of us there for 2 tables to keep an eye on things. So the third guy can go run to the bathroom, do whatever. But most of the time, especially during the busy time on Saturday morning, there'll be 3 of us there and we can keep an eye on stuff. So that's kind of our plan.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell my plan is, but I'll figure it out. I like deli displays because then like you can walk away from your table for like a minute or 2 and there's nobody stealing anything.
Right.
But I know probably Keith put out like a bargain bin, like deli cup special that's sort of loose.
Right.
While
I know Keith's going to have some ARS displays, and he just bought some really high-end fancy deli cup display where, it has the thing over the top. Because, just for the theft deterrent.
Yeah,
so
it just slows them down from like picking it up is all. But
right. But I vend alone. I almost never have help. And I've had loose deli cups and I've had 100 geckos on the table and I've never had anything stolen. So, because I watch, but
yeah. All right. I think we did it. Thank you. It's going to be fire one of these days. Dallas is going to be crazy. I don't know.
I'm excited for Dallas.
But I feel like it's going to be crazy.
And hell, if it's ridiculously slow, we can fire up and we'll just do a live or whatever.
I know it won't be slow. It won't be slow. It's just like there's a lot of competition in that room. That's the part that you're like, oh no.
Yeah. And hell, these small shows I do in Minnesota, some shows there's 8 or 10 people with crested geckos. That's ridiculous. That's a third of the show, and I still do okay. So
yeah,
small fish in an even bigger pond.
Right, but I'm like, I don't know. I have a lot of feelings riding on this one, so I should probably decouple those feelings. But I'm gonna unfeel them.
There's no room for feelings in
reptile breeding. I gotta be okay. All right, see ya. Probably Saturday for the member live. I don't even know what we're doing. I'll figure it out. Bye, everybody.
See ya.
See ya, Dallas. So soon.